Hi, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Comic Hall. My name is Dylan. I am your host today. It's the fifth week. It's May 30th, 2018. Got word this past weekend, that I'm going to need a new air conditioner. It's going to cost a lot of money. Plus, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up. So I think starting with next week's comics, there's going to be some drastic cuts back on my comics. I will see how bad the cuts are early next week when I see what's coming out for the week, and then I will make a determination what I'm going to do. If it's not a lot of stuff, I might not do comic calls all that often anymore, weekly, as I have been doing them. I might do them bi-weekly. I might do them once a month, depending. We'll see. But for now, we have an episode, and there's going to be another episode of my regular show, Dylan Knows, sometime this weekend as well, probably on Sunday, due to stuff going on this weekend as well. So that being said, this is the fifth week, so there's surprisingly not surprisingly, but there's actually a lot of stuff here. But it's also very expensive, and there's also some crazy stuff, some endings, some beginnings, and some crazy cool stuff. So for my last week, technically, of spending a lot of money, hopefully it's well worth it. I should start with this one because of what it is. This is Man of Steel #1. This is Brian Michael Bendis' first actual full comic from DC. He's doing a weekly series for DC called The Man of Steel, which is going to redo his origin, I guess, and prep for his runs on Superman and Action Comics. So I picked it up just because the other stuff I've read of his stuff, the small stories that I've read of his other Superman stuff, I've not been a big fan of. So I picked up, we'll see. It's got Ivan Reyes artwork. It's pretty nice looking stuff. So we'll see what happens. Introducing a whole bunch of new characters and Superman. And thankfully I did see Jonathan was in it. So hopefully that's going to become a thing. This looks like she's going to become a regular character as well, more than likely. A potential love interest. So to go along with, I guess, Lois. So interesting things going on. We'll see what happens. I'll probably catch all weekly issues, depending on, just to see if I like it, just right, the new direction it's going in. So we'll see. Next up, the one thing I am excited about is this is the Prelude to the Wedding, Batman #1 Robin versus Ra's al Ghul. This is a series of one-shots that's going to lead up to Batman and Catwoman's wedding on July 4th. There's going to be these one-shots, and there's going to be a couple issues of the comic coming up. This one was, let me see here. I can find the creative team here. I can't find it anywhere. It's weird. Here we go. It's only right here. All right. Tim Seeley, writer. Brad Walker, pencils. Andrew Hennessy and Mick Gray, inks. And it's basically how the Batman family is adjusting to the potential arrival of Catwoman as the new mom, new mom, wife of their Batman. So we'll see what happens. But as always, there's going to be a bunch of other preludes coming up. So definitely check these out if you're interested in at least checking out the wedding, which is, you really should, because it's going to be awesome. No Justice #4. This is another weekly book. So there's lots of weekly books coming. Is ending. This is going to lead into the new Justice League book that comes out next week. So there's another one I probably need to get next week. So I need to get that one, Man of Steel, and the new Prelude to the Wedding. So we'll see what's going on with that. But this one is, I've been pleasantly surprised by this because I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. I was a little worried about it, but this has, I can't find it. I hate when they put the creative teams places I can't find them. So where is it? It's not even on here. So I'll just say Scott Snyder, James Senior IV, Joshua Williamson, Francis Manapul. So they're the creative team there. I don't even see it on here, but this is the Justice League finishing off the Omega Titans and leading into the new Justice League books that are going to be coming up really, really soon. So definitely check those out. And did it say Green Arrow Annual? We have to read that to understand what's going on. Great, so I don't know what happened to Green Arrow unless you read the annual. Come on, man. Stupid. But the artwork looks nice. The story's been pretty good, so I'll finish that up and lead my way into Justice League. Green Lantern's Annual #1. This is also the 5th week, so when they like to deliver the annuals. This is one. Green Arrow came out this week as well. This one is written by Andy Diggle with art by Mike Perkins. And it's an annual, so you get a double-sized look at the Green Lantern's characters. And, different creative team on it to see how they handle it. I like how it looks. Mike Perkins' artwork is pretty good, and Andy Diggle's always excellent as well. So definitely worth a check out. Next up, we have a series that's been underwhelming to me. I haven't really enjoyed it that much, but I'll keep reading it to see if it goes anywhere. This is Doomsday Clock #5, written by Jeff Johns with art by Gary Frank. It's not going anywhere. I mean, I really don't care about Watchmen, and I don't care about what's happening in this series, and it's not interesting to me. It's boring. It's unnecessary. I don't quite grasp it yet. I mean, obviously, yes, we're not even halfway there, but still, it just seems superfluous. Doesn't seem to be there necessarily. Why keep getting it? Sure, because it's going to come out bi-monthly. So the next issue is not going to be out till July. So we'll see what happens. Now we get into the fun stuff. The remaining DC books that I bought. They've done a couple of these already. So Hanna-Barbera, the DC owns the rights to Hanna-Barbera, and they've done some updates on it. They did the Flintstones, the Scooby Apocalypse, and Jetsons, and Snagglepuss, and stuff like that. But they've also done these crossovers for these 5th week events. And they're going to, they trade them out between the Hanna-Barbera characters and also the Warner Brother characters. So the next time you're going to get these types of books are going to be with the Warner Brothers characters. We've already seen it's Lex Luthor and Porky Pig and stuff like that. So these are more like quarterly things they're going to be doing more often. And they're really good. The creative teams are always interesting. And the stories are a lot of fun. And they're really interesting team-ups. So first off the bat, it's one of my favorite books that's been canceled, but it's coming back kind of as a maxi series. But Super Sons meet Dynomutt and the Blue Falcon. It's written by Peter Tomasi, who is fantastic, with art by, where's Bessarium? What is his name? Oh, looks like it's a full one. Again, I hate that they don't give me the creative teams in an easy-to-locate spot. Here we go. Peter Tomasi, Fernando Passarin, and Auclair Albert is the inker. So you get Dynomutt with the Super Sons, and that's going to be interesting to read. This will probably be the first one I read because it looks really interesting. Now, some of these are going to do backups. This one looks like it's a full double-sized storyline. So the artwork looks pretty nice, and it's just a really interesting premise, to be honest. So very cool. So definitely check that one out. We also have Flash and Speed Buggy. This is Wally West Flash. And you get some Brett Booth stuff in there. So you got Scott Lobdell, Brett Booth, and Norm Ratmud doing the Mark Irwin does some inks, as does Mark Deering, Matt Banning, and John Livesey. So you get a bunch of different, but it's Brett Booth artwork, which I've always loved also. And Scott Lobdell has pretty much done a pretty good job so far. But now you get the Flash meets Speed Buggy, which I think is really funny. So very interesting take on this, and I like Wally West Flash, so it should be definitely interesting to check out. And just, I think this one has a backup. Well, let me see, maybe not. This one looks like it might be a full story as well. Yeah, it's a full story as well. So interesting. I thought there were going to be more backups than there were. Oh, there is. There's a couple coming up. So there's that one. Next up, we have Aquaman and Jabberjaw. I wish I could have gotten the other cover, but they were all sold out. This one also has a Captain Caveman story in it, so that should be interesting. So you got Dan Abnett, writer, Paul Pelletier, inker, or rather, penciler, and Andrew Hennessy, inker. So they do a little bit of Jaws parody to begin with. Paul Pelletier's a pretty good artist when it comes to things. And just seeing Aquaman meet up with Jabberjaw was pretty funny. So these books are always a lot of fun to read and interesting. And then we have Captain Caveman, written by Jeff Parker with art by Scott Collins. So there's Captain Caveman, which is pretty much what you expected. So that should be a lot of fun to read too. I can't wait to see that. That was awesome. Then finally we have Black Lightning and Hong Kong Phooey, which is another really good one. That also has a backup story, but a great team on it. Brian Hill, writer, Denny Cohen, pencils, Bill Sienkiewicz, inks. So you see Denny Cohen and Bill Sienkiewicz back together again. I think that's great. And you get Black Lightning in here, and then you get Hong Kong Phooey. So you can't go wrong with that. The guy at the comic book store read this said this was excellent. So again, all these books look like they're a lot of fun. That's why I'm going to keep buying them. They keep coming up with them. And, Denny Cohen and Bill Sienkiewicz, you can't go wrong with that. And then you have a backup, which is The Funky Phantom, which I don't think I've ever heard of before. Written by Jeff Parker, art by Scott Collins also. So they do double the work on here. But I don't remember The Funky Phantom. So I don't know what that's all about. So I'll have to read that one to find out for sure. Jeff Parker's one of those guys that knows his stuff. So he'll pull these obscure characters out and just do it. So that's it for DC. Marvel's absolute biggest book this week, as it should be. And this is going to have a special place in my heart because this comic was what got me into comic books to begin with way back in the early 80s when my dad gave me his collection. It might even been the late 70s. And said, here, you can have these. And I started reading them, and then when I was old enough and I had my own money or I got my allowance or whatever, I'd go to the local news center and see if there were any new ones out, and then I'd buy them, and then any other books that had this character with them, I'd buy them as well, and that's how I got into my comics. So I'm talking about Amazing Spider-Man number 800. This is one of a multitude of covers. I wanted to get this one. This is the Mobius cover. It's very understated, and I like it. I could have gotten the Alex Ross one or the Mark Bagley one or the Ramitas or whatever. And these are all the different covers you can get. So you can actually pick up any of these covers at your local comic book store. It is $10, but you get close to like 80 to 100 some pages worth of stuff. In here, you also get a post-credit sequence. I think they did John Cassidy, Paul Mouse one, and Greg Land one. Wow, there's a whole bunch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 14 of them, variant covers. But the problem with this is it's not a anniversary one where, like Action Comics 1000 was, where it had a bunch of mini stories. This is the conclusion of Dan Slott's run on Amazing Spider-Man. He's been writing Amazing Spider-Man for close to 10 years now. And this is the culmination of it. Now, he's got one more issue left, 801, but that's more of a postscript farewell, and it's going to be a regular size one. This comes out on my birthday on June 20th. But this one is the culmination of all the story arcs he's doing. And they did something pretty interesting. They brought back a lot of the creative teams that Dan worked with during his time on Amazing Spider-Man. So the first chapter is art by Nick Bradshaw. The second chapter is art by Humberto Ramos and Victor Olazaba. The third chapter has art by Giuseppe Camuncoli and Cam Smith inks. The fourth chapter has Stuart Immerman and Wade Van Grawbadger. The fifth chapter has Giuseppe Camuncoli coming back and Cam Smith. And then the finale has Marcos Martin doing the artwork. So Slott wrote the whole thing, and you have all these different writers. So here's like a Nick Bradshaw page. But as I said, the story is a culmination of a lot of stuff. Here is Humberto Ramos. Is this Giuseppe? Yeah, this looks like this is. Or is this Ramos still? Here's Giuseppe. Giuseppe Camuncoli's artwork. He did a bunch of the story arcs, stories, I believe. There's also, some surprise deaths, and I'm not going to ruin who the surprise death is, and some other surprise stories. I think this is Stuart Immonen's part, so you get some of that. And almost solitary confinement. Who did the artwork for that one? That would be Giuseppe also. So Giuseppe did the artwork for this one too. And then you have the Marcos Martin bit at the end. So Spider-Man 800, while I would recommend it if you haven't been reading Amazing Spider-Man, you recently anyway. I mean, it does wrap up a lot of the story arcs and brings a lot of characters in and brings closure, stuff like that. But you might get a little lost on that. But it is Spider-Man 800, and you've got 14 different covers to choose from. So go for it. Speaking of Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows number 19, the new story arc. This is a alternate reality Spider-Man where Spider-Man is still married to Mary Jane, and they have a daughter, and they all have powers. It's written by Jody Hauser with art by Scott Koblish. So this is their summer vacation, so you get to see the Parkers going on vacation. Peter and Mary Jane, and Mary Jane has powers now too. So, and then let me see if their daughter shows up in any of the storylines. I don't see her daughter. It might just be the two of them. So there's a picture of their daughter. So this is another view of them coming up. So it's more like a one shot. So, but still, it's a fun book. Jody Hauser is the writer, and it's still going to continue for a while. So I'm not a big fan of the new creative team on Spider-Man, so I might not be picking that up anymore. But I might continue to pick that up because I like that. Lockjaw number 4 ends its miniseries on a high note, written by Daniel Kebble-Smith with art by Carlos Villa and inks by Roberto Poggi. We get a nice return of Sleepwalker, who I've missed. I liked a lot of some of the 90s characters like Darkhawk and Sleepwalker, and here's Lockjaw versus Annihilus. So you get it was a fun miniseries, and you gotta love it. So it's Lockjaw. That's the last issue of that one, though. Your Deadpool is another weekly book. As I said, I'm not a big fan of Deadpool, but I had to get this one. It's the 5-issue weekly miniseries, basically a choose-your-own-adventure comic book. I had to get it. I didn't have to, but I wanted to. Al Ewing is the writer, art by Salva Espin, but you have to make your choices, and it's a choose-your-own-adventure type of story. And I think it's all connected, but it's fun that you get to do a choose-your-own-adventure comic, and it surprisingly successful. So good on that. That's it for Marvel. Finally, for the independents, again, I cut out a bunch of ones that came out this week that I've been collecting for a while. Again, I got to start cutting back on it. But I can't cut back on my Hack Slash Resurrection. Number 7, Teenie Howard, C. Lord, K. Michael Russell, Cranky, and Tim Seeley are all involved in this. So it's a new story arc. I love the cover. And I love the character, and I'm going to keep picking it up because I think it's well worth it. So good on that. Vampironica number 2. The Archie has been doing a fantastic job of mixing up their genres. This one is their horror one. I stopped getting Jughead, The Hunger, because it just wasn't interesting to me, but Vampironica is a different story. Greg Smallwood and Meg Smallwood are the creative team, and it's fun to see Veronica as a vampire and what she has to deal with. So interesting stuff. The horror books are really, really good. I mean, and then look, if I had the money, I'd probably be getting Hunger still because it wasn't bad. I need to cut back, and there's just certain areas I need to cut back. And finally, Abbott number 5. This is the last issue of this miniseries. Probably not going to pick up any other ones just because, again, I haven't really read it yet, but I heard good stuff about it. Saladin Ahmed and Sammy Cavella are the creative team. And I'll have to pick it up and read it, but I had to get the last issue so I can read it all and make up my mind later on. One of these days I'm going to be able to read everything up and check it out. So that's it for what may be a full-sized Dylan Knows. Again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to have to make some tough choices in the next few weeks, considering there's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff coming out soon that I'm going to want to get, but at the same time, I can't just get rid of books and then add new ones to it. So I'm going to have to make some tough choices because I just need to start saving some money now. So you may or may not be an episode next week. It depends on the stuff. I am going to at least do one for my birthday because for the first time in at least 4 to 5 years, free new comic book day has landed on my birthday. So I'm going to do that. And there's some, interesting stuff coming up in June. As I said, New Justice League is coming out next week. Continuing the Batman wedding prelude to the wedding is coming out next week, and there is Man of Steel 2 coming out next week, and new books here left and right. So we'll see. I'll take a look and see what's coming out, and I'll have to make some tough choices. So these episodes might be getting shorter, or I might just say, there's not enough to do a haul. I'll do a couple weeks haul or whatever. So we'll see. But I wish I didn't have to do this, but real life has intruded on me, and I need to start saving money, and I can't spend it on comics because it's a habit, and I need to start cutting down on it because I'm spending a lot of money on comics. I need to drop at least $30 a week on comics, and that's a lot. If I can cut down $30 and keep it to around a $40 per week, I might be okay. So we'll see what happens. So again, there may or may not be another episode next week. It all depends on what's coming out next week and if I warrant that it's good enough for that. But I know there's going to be at least one on June 20th for my birthday. On that note, I'm going to say goodbye. Don't forget to turn into Dylan Knows this weekend. I'll be talking about the big changes coming up in the Walking Dead TV show, a couple of things closing down in my local area, which has me depressed, and adventures in new air conditioning. Plus my son's dance recitals on Friday, so I'll be able to talk about that as well. And any other big news, exciting news that comes out in this week, I will let you know. So probably Sunday, Dylan Knows will probably hit around 12:30, so we'll see. All right, guys, take care, and I hope to see you next week. I hope to continue doing these weekly, but again, we'll see. I have to start cutting back on money because I got to start saving more money. So cutting back on comics to save more money. So may or may not see you next week. So until then, we'll see. Go get comics.